Does Alabama have what it takes to make a championship run?
You are Locked On College Crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
This crossover edition of Locked On the Portal and Locked On Bama. I'm your host, Brian Smith, longtime college football recruiting analyst. Thank you for helping this podcast and Locked On Bama be a part of your day each and every day, right here on the #1 sports broadcasting network, Locked On. We're going to be discussing many things with Alabama, including at the end, we're going to get to what do they need to do in the offseason for the portal to improve. It will be a very important offseason as they have several players moving on. We'll get to that later in the show. How good is Bama's run game, and is it good enough for the Tide to make a title run? We'll be talking about that in different ways, but that's going to be the middle part of the show. And at the beginning, the portal decisions that put Bama in this particular spot, offensively, defensively, the run game. Would you do anything different if you could go back? We're going to talk about all that right now, and I'm going to do that with Luke Robinson, host of Locked On Bama. Luke, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, man. Looking forward to doing this. This is going to be fun.
Let's jump right in then, Mr. Robinson. I have a basic question for you, and this is something I like to ask every host at some point in the year. If you could go back during the last, for lack of a better term, offseason, because it's so convoluted and what everybody wants to call it out with the portal, but if you could take anything different from the portal this last year, if Bama would have taken a different direction, went after a different player to make this team better, what would it be?
Well, I think the easy answer for me, and it'll be the answer for most portal-related things, is always defensive linemen. I think that you can never have enough of those dudes, and Alabama's not hurting there. But at the same time, I'm not sure Alabama's got a Quinnen Williams, or they've got a Jonathan Allen or a Deron Payne. I don't think they have any of that right now. And it's working right now. Look, Alabama's defense is, Jimmy and I both believe, Oklahoma's defense is probably number 1 in the league, and Alabama's maybe number 2 right now. And it's come a long way from Florida State. Everybody made a big fuss about, well, there are 3 teams in the country that haven't given up more than 24 points in a game, and Auburn was one of those until Vanderbilt came knocking. But now if you take away the Florida State game, which I understand, it's part of it. I'm just saying it was the first game of the year, so I'm willing to excuse it a little more. If you take out that game, Alabama's also in that group. Nobody scored more than 24 points on them. In fact, I'd say they've probably been better. They certainly held Vanderbilt to fewer points than Auburn did, and they've certainly held some other teams to much below their scoring average. When's the last time LSU didn't score a touchdown? I didn't look that up, but it's been a minute.
Oh, yeah, that's an accomplishment, brother.
So and I know that Garrett Nussmeier isn't on his A game. I get it. But they still got Barry and Brown. They still got dudes. And Alabama held them without a touchdown. That's something to be lauded. I'm not trying to pretend this is Alabama 1992 defense. By the way, I did get to see Antonio London this weekend. And as a recruiting guy, you'll appreciate this. A buddy of mine introduced me to him, and I said, Antonio London, and Tullahoma, Tennessee's finest. And he looked at me like, whoa, why on earth would you possibly know that? I said, because people who follow recruiting are nuts, and we remember stuff like that. And so, I remember that vividly. So anyway, this team is not 92 Bama. This team isn't, 2011 Bama. It's not even any of those other teams Bama. It's good. It's a very good defense. I'm not stacking it up with greatness. I'm just saying I don't think it has to be great. Now, in 92, Alabama's defense had to be great. It had to be one of the greatest ever, or they had no shot to win it. Sort of like when the Baltimore Ravens ran the Super Bowl with, I think, Trent Dilfer at quarterback. They had to have Ray Lewis and crew, or else they wouldn't going to win it. And so this time, Alabama's a little more offensive-centric. The game is more offensive-centric. And back to your original question, I would have gone out and probably tried to get another defensive lineman or 2. But again, it's not anything catastrophic right now. I just think that you can never have enough good defensive linemen.
Couldn't disagree on that at all, because one defensive lineman changes what teams do in terms of strategy and play calling. That's like Quinnen Williams. Like when that guy was healthy and he was motivated at even at the pro level, he could play. But at the college level, you're not blocking him one-on-one. You're not. So Deron Payne, Yeah, good luck not double teaming him if you're running at him on 3rd and short.
All he did was do his bench press work at truck stops because he didn't have enough weights in the weight room. I mean, Deron Payne was one of the strongest humans, ever. And he's just a dude. And Tim Keenan's great. Tim Keenan's really good at what he does.
Oh, he is.
And because it seems like you're almost insulting people, right? When you're like, hey, you're not the best ever. Well, I mean, they sort of
look at what you're going against of Bama history, though. I mean,
we're not comparing you to, again, no offense, Southwest Louisiana. We're not comparing you to Louisiana Lafayette history. We're comparing you to some of the greatest defensive linemen the game's ever seen. And you're not one of them, but that's okay. You know who else isn't? Most all of humanity.
Amen to that. All right. Is there anybody that you have been disappointed with, whether how they've been used, production, combination, that you guys got in the portal? And for the record, Bama took 12 players total in the portal this offseason. Anything you're a little disappointed with?
Yeah, I mean, boy, and this is a sticky wicket because you hate to say it because this does become a little bit more offensive, I'm sure. But I would say this. The tight ends Alabama went out and got.
Okay.
They got like 2 or 3 of them, and really none of them have made a mark. But I think, and even when we took them, Jimmy and I put the caveat, hey, we think they're just covering their bases just in case. But then you bring in the kid from California who's played really well. I mean, he's made some nice catches here recently. Josh Cuevas, fully healthy and looking like a dude out there. Jay Lindsey's even played some. Pritchett's played some. The freshmen and the young guys have all gotten some action. So it's kind of weird that none of those tight ends made a mark, even on things like goal line situations. I mean, when Alabama got the transfer from West Virginia, his stats were eye-poppingly in the wrong popping direction. I think he had 1 catch for like 4 yards. You're like, what in the world is Alabama doing? And it turns out that what they were trying – that's a bad visual, isn't it? It turns out that we all figured, okay, they love him as a blocker. And so we're thinking, okay, he's going to get a lot of run on goal line situation stuff. And it just hadn't come to fruition. Now, if he has played, he's played a lot more than I think he's played. I just hadn't noticed it. But there's not been a mark made. And again, in a way, I think you're sort of happy because you bought him as insurance policy. You never want to use your insurance policy, but you pay for it. And I think that's the same kind of thing here.
Well, the guy you're talking about is Jack Samarco.
Yeah.
And
I was going to let you say the name.
That's how I pronounce it. It could be something different. It's Sammarco. But
no, I was going to let you say the name in case he's mad at me.
Well, I mean, it's Jack Samarco, and it's that guy over there that said that about you, Jack. But anyway, number 3, biggest 2025 roster surprise. And you can include recruits on this if you want. You can somebody that came out of the blue. Usually it's a portal guy in this era, but it doesn't have to be. Let's have fun with it. What guy has surprised you the most?
Well, I think some people would love to put Lottie Brooks in this slot.
Oh,
and I get it. Dude is a player. Dude, it's amazing. I bet you the casual fan who knows enough about Bama would be surprised to know he doesn't have a touchdown this year. That's kind of how good he's been. It's like he's kicked butt everywhere. He just hadn't broken the goal line yet. That's coming. I fully believe it. Could come this weekend. But he has been everything that we thought Ryan Williams was going to be this year. Now, Ryan Williams is still, he can still break ankles. He can still make a great catch every now and again. But he's dropped several balls. He's also had some injury problems. And so Ryan Williams I think he'd be the first to tell you, I haven't had a Ryan Williams type year. In fact, if you were going to give one of them the nickname Hollywood just based on this year, you'd give it to Lottie Brooks. So I think Lottie Brooks is an easy answer. I think the better answer is London Simmons, the defensive lineman from Mississippi. He was the number 50th ranked defensive lineman in the country. He was the number 18 player in Mississippi. And that dude just seems to show up. He just shows up every time. And really, when he was called upon the most, I think it came at the Wisconsin game, if memory serves. He got to play a good bit, and I noticed him a lot in that game. And since then, he's just been steady Eddie. And I appreciate that. Again, it sounds like I wanted all these transferred defensive portal guys. truth be known, if I could have more defensive linemen like London Simmons, who I know are going to get better, I would rather have them long term rather than a one and done type transfer guy who may not fit in culturally or chemistry wise. But if I give me a few more London Simmons, I'll be thrilled to death.
I totally agree with that. Last question here, just best freshman. Let's take Waddy out of it, I think.
Oof. That's and let's take London Simmons out of it too, because I don't think I don't want to have two of the same answers there. I think it's got to be Dijon Lee, right? He's played a lot. He's played a lot. He has come up on the scene. He has made some big stops. He is looking like a future NFL guy. He's got that length. He's got the speed. He's got the instincts. He's got everything you want. And he made a big play this past weekend, and he's just everywhere. He made the game-saving interception against Missouri, whichever way you want to go. And he's going to be a dude. He's going to be a dude for at least 2 more years. I think Alabama's got him 2 more years. I think he goes pro because he's got all the intangibles and all the tangibles you want. I
could not agree more. If he plays his senior year, that means he got hurt. That's about the only way I see that happen. 100%. He's a great kid too. I had a chance to meet him and cover him a couple times.
Or Warren Buffett became an NIL supporter of Alabama. Only those 2 things. Yeah.
That's a great one as well. When we come back, we're going to discuss Alabama's run game. Is it good enough to make a championship run? That is next here on this crossover, your team every day. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at Gametime. Right now, you have the opportunity with college football being just so incredible to go to games that have fun, to tailgates, rivalries, everything, the energy in the stands. There's not quite like a live college football game, but let's be real, actually getting tickets can be quite a hassle. All the endless fees, trying to find the tickets, and then the prices, they aren't always what you expect, changing at checkout. That's why I use Gametime. I actually just bought 2 tickets off of Gametime, going to see my alma mater, Indiana, play some basketball in early December. I was in and out in 5 minutes on the FanDuel app, literally. And that includes putting in my credit card information. Found the game I wanted to go to, found the seats, could see my seat view. It's really easy. And I'm not the most patient guy. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets or basketball for that matter, and download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download the Gametime app today. Thank you once again for making Locked On Bama and Locked On the Portal a part of your day, each and every day right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. I am joined by Luke Robinson, host of Locked On Bama, to talk some Alabama. And this next question, I don't know where this is going to go. I go to Bama message boards once in a while, but I'm just going to say this part out loud. Bama fans are about as linear as it gets, and I don't mean that in a complimentary way. They usually have a very high opinion of their team, even when it doesn't go well. But I don't know how, let's see, what is it here? Bama is 120th in the nation and averaging 111.9 on the ground. And I've got the stats. I'm actually doing a live show today. When this publishes, it'll be right after it. But I'm going to make this a feature. Can you win a title with that kind of run game? And you're the Bama expert. You're the Bama fan. You've lived here the whole 9. And I know you're a pretty darn honest guy. Scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being, how much of a problem is this run game for Bama? And do you think, A, that's A, but B, can they at least tweak it to get it better? Because playoff competition is different.
Yeah, I mean, in my heart and what I've learned in my DNA from watching football for a long time is that this is a 10 out of 10 problem for me. In the new age, I think it's more like a 5 because Alabama's short passing game can kind of make up for that, and it has. And here's the other thing. We can keep talking about, hey, keep doing this is going to get you beat. Keep doing this is going to get you beat. Keep doing this. And all they've done is won every game since Florida State. And I think that some folks on social media or national narrative, maybe Alabama fans just want to act like Florida State never happened. No, I was there. It happened, and it was awful. And I went on the squad show the next day with a bag on my head. It was embarrassing. It was lifeless. It was listless. It was everything that's awful. But we can still, 2 things can be true. That game happened, and Alabama's gotten a lot better since then. A lot better. And it's clear as day. And in fact, Florida State's gotten a lot worse. I don't think the national
like
narrative should be just that singular game, because if it is, then Florida State wins the national championship and Alabama's awful. And frankly, the other two things, it's the reverse. So, yes, I'm concerned about it. Me personally, I'm more concerned about it than I think our program is. Now, I think it's also a thing about this isn't going to be long term. I don't think this is going to be the way it is forever. I mean, last year Alabama's running was pretty doggone good, mostly because we had a very good running quarterback. But I think our running game was better this year. Our best weapons are our receivers. I mean, you got Jeremy Bernard, who's playing like a first-round pick. You got Ryan Williams. When he's healthy, he's as good as anybody. When you got Isaiah Horton, who made a fantastic contested catch the other day, he's doing enough. Derek Meadows is getting out there now. Lottie Brooks, who we've talked about, is going to be a stud. And the tight ends, Cuevas is just as reliable as they come. So Caleb Edwards, the tight end from California I mentioned, great player. So I think Alabama's got a lot of receiving weapons, and it feels like at least our offensive line is better at pass blocking than they are at run blocking. I wouldn't have predicted that going into the year because I would have thought we'd been a better run blocking team. And so people ask, well, why not play A.K. Deer? You know, this is a guy that it's funny. You're talking about the stats. I'll pull it up very quickly that A.K. Deer has the longest run of the year at 56 yards. The next closest guy to him is Jeremy Bernard, who's a wide receiver who has a 25-yard run. And I believe that was the one probably against South Carolina, if memory serves. I'm not 100%.
how is that possible?
Yeah, it's crazy. And then the next longest run is 22, and that's between Jan Miller and Kevin Riley. Here's the other thing that just blew me away, just because Jimmy and I talked about the running stats a couple of shows ago. The most touchdowns rushing any one player has is 2. And that Ty Simpson's got 2, Jeremy Bernard has 2, Daniel Hill has 2, and Jan Miller has 2. Everybody else either has 1 or none. That is an amazing statistic when it comes to 9 games through of college football for the Alabama Crimson Tide. If you had told me this was Andre Ware's Houston team, I could buy it. You're telling me it's Alabama any year of our Lord, I would say you're wrong. And it's kind of nuts. It's taking some getting used to. I'm not used to it. At the same time, I found myself in game going, don't even run the ball. Just don't even do it. We can't do it. This is who we are. This isn't going to be fixed. There is no magic elixir between now and the playoffs, between now and Oklahoma, between now and Jordan-Hare, between now and the SEC. None of that. Nothing that's going to say, there's nothing about this run game that makes me think, you know what, Alabama at any moment could break off a 50-yard run. They could do it, but it'd be from a double reverse. It wouldn't be from just, hitting the hole by the tailback. That's not going to happen. And I have enough sample size to truly believe that. Again, the best run of the year is 56 yards by A.K. Deer, last touchdown of the game against Louisiana Monroe, a team we beat 73-0. That's just crazy. Now, last year, if memory serves, we had 2 big runs very early in the year. I think they may have been against South Florida. I'm trying to remember exactly. I can't remember, but it was like first, second game. And then we didn't have any long runs after that. If we did, they'd be by Milroe. It's just the way it is now. And again, we had a different offensive coordinator last year. We had a different quarterback. We had a lot of things different. So I'm not sitting here saying Alabama will never be a good running team again, because they are getting a kid named E.J. Crowell, who I think is, he's incredible. He's a dude.
For those that don't know, he's a kid from Jackson, Alabama. He has beast mode traits. Yeah. And I don't say that lightly. Like, his ability to break tackles is insane. Continue, please.
And he is now, the one thing I would warn people, he's coming in skipping his senior year. Yeah, Ryan Williams did the same thing and showed out pretty well, but he fell off towards the end of the year. So I'm not saying E.J. Crowell is going to come in here and just set the world on fire, but I think he will set the world on fire at some stage in his career at Alabama, because I think he's that good. But whenever you come in a season, you skip a whole season of high school, that's a lot of development right there. So I don't know. I'm worried about it because I'm supposed to worry about it as an Alabama fan. If any other year, can you imagine the come aparts people would be having if this were the Gene Stallings era? I mean,
that would be a 500 Alabama team, because he didn't like throwing the ball.
At best. Yeah. because we wouldn't be throwing the ball. But we do have a quarterback who's pretty doggone. In fact, he's very accurate short to middle passes. His deep ball probably needs a little bit of work. He's got a good arm. His deep ball needs a little work to me. But so we sort of have that West Coast short passing game is our running game mantra. And again, that's okay. I would certainly love to have a running back that I know could go for, at least 80 yards. It just doesn't seem like that's going to happen this year, and that's okay.
Yeah, that's just what Bama is. When this will be a continued conversation between Luke and I at some point down the road, I have a feeling, right before the playoffs.
Yeah. Well, listen, I'll tell you this. Here's what I'll say about it. When Alabama loses again, that'll be the first thing people bring up. That'll be the first thing. When they lose again, people will go, see, we told you couldn't do it without a running game. And I agree. At the same time, I'd say, well, how do we beat all these other really good teams? No other SEC team has beaten 4 ranked teams in a row.
That's
and
impressive,
we did.
Brother.
So without a running game, that's what makes it even more impressive. So I'm saying, I see what you're saying. At the same time, we're winning, so it's kind of hard to complain too much.
Absolutely. When we come back, what does Bama need to do in the offseason to make sure that they have a running game and have an even better team? That is next here on this crossover, your team every day. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of the game, want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to those fourth quarter comebacks that are so fun to watch. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. He keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Let's push it forward, Mr. Robinson. Let's discuss Bama after this year. I know there's part of this is impossible because you don't know which guys for Bama are going to hit the portal. It is my genuine opinion, and it's not a Bama thing, this is across the board, that you're going to lose at least one guy, no matter who you are, that you're like, wow, I didn't see that coming. Every team. I'll give you an example. I guarantee you right now, if I walked up to Kirby Smart and I said, is there one guy from last year that you'd like to have back? He would scream in my face, Damon Wilson, the defensive end that went to Missouri. If they had him, they would be my pick to win it.
Yeah.
They'd be 100%. My pick to win. So,
Isaiah Bond, Isaiah Bond's a guy that could have gone down in Alabama lore forever. And
he transferred.
And he transfers to Texas. And it's like, he got a Lamborghini or whatever. And again, so more power to him. I think it was pretty short-sighted because I'm willing to bet Alabama's offer wasn't quite as far away as it appears on the surface. And there is something to be said for you never have to worry about anything. You'd be a hero. Regardless of how you played, people would remember the Gravedigger, and they'd remember you making that catch forever. And you went to Texas, and you were just a dude. Yeah, they went pretty far in the playoffs. He wasn't a huge part of that. He just – it never really materialized for him being the man there. So, yeah, I think you're right. I think sometimes it doesn't work out. I think sometimes it obviously does. I want kids to be able to do this, but I hope they do it for the right reasons. And sometimes the kids may go, hey, the right reasons is whoever's going to pay me 1 cent more than the other team. But I think you do need to factor in, did Isaiah Bond make the right call? My answer is probably no. Texas people may disagree, but I think he would have been better off staying one more year in a structured system, a wide receiver friendly system, by the way. I know you could stay Sarkisian's is, but I think Isaiah Bond would have been happier at Alabama. That's my take. I don't know Isaiah Bond personally, so hard to say. But you're right about that there'll be somebody that leaves that we don't think should. And there'll be some other guys that leave that they probably need to go. And I hate that for some of the kids because some of the kids will be pushed to leave, and that's everywhere. But you look at
it's gotten ugly, hasn't it? It really has.
It's gotten to the point where it's I've always wondered this about NFL fans. Like, how could y'all possibly have the same passion as us when we know we watch some of these kids grow? Like in the NFL, if you draft somebody in the first round and they don't play game one or they play badly game one, you have labeled them a loser from the jump. In college, we're like, okay, well, he's going to get better. I just talked about London Simmons. Nobody knows London Simmons except Alabama people, because we're going to learn. We know that he's going to get better. We're seeing progress, and we're going to know he's going to get better. And now, London Simmons, again, I don't think he will, but he's the kind of guy that other teams will see him say he can get better, and then he may transfer 2, 3, 4, 5 times. We've seen it. And that wasn't the intent, and it's turned into that.
So with that, doing your best, and this, again, you're not held to this because we don't know which guys will leave, which guys will get hurt. Guy might turn pro early that you're like, what? That all that stuff happens. Right now, give me at least your top 2 positions. I know D-line will be one of them in the offseason, but everybody, it's D-line. What are the spots you're like, okay, for Bama to make a run next year, this portal offseason, we need to do A, B, and C. What do you got?
Well, I think the recruiting class is looking pretty good right now. I think we're bringing in 3 receivers. I think we're going to bring in a guy named Sam Gash, who will probably lose one of the receiver commitments. My guess is maybe Brian Williams, potentially. And so I think the receiving core is going to be fine. Now, you also ask, why are you bringing in so many receivers? Because you're only losing Jeremy Bernard. But I think we all know there'll be another receiver or 2 or 3 that gets in the portal. So I think you have to reload that. And after next year, I think you'll lose Horton. I think you'll lose Ryan Williams. You're going to lose some of your big time players. And then Lottie Brooks, would be a junior. So what I'm saying? It all sort of shuffles down. You got to be thinking for the future. Defensive line is always crucial to me. Offensive line, I think they're doing a really good job of recruiting there. I almost don't want to get an offensive lineman unless there is a badass center out there. Now, the problem with my trying to talk about this is I have no idea how to evaluate badass centers at other places. It's very difficult. Jimmy and I just laughed about this. Parker Brailsford was named SEC Offensive Lineman Player of the Week. And I said, every time they give an Offensive Player of the Week to a lineman, and it's not like super obvious, like you don't see a certain guy, maybe Andre Smith, pancaking dudes all game long. It's very difficult to see it from a center pancaking like that. I always think they're like, we got to make up for this because, we could have given SEC Defensive Player of the Week to Yanzi Pierre, but somebody else did really well. So we can't give it to Pierre, who had 2 sacks and a strip fumble and all these other things. And so we got to make up for it by giving it to maybe an offensive lineman, because we can just say an offensive lineman and nobody's going to call us out on it unless they just were a turnstile. Do you understand where I'm going with this? That like the average football fan, it's easy to see an offensive lineman who is an all-pro forever, that's really good. But there are a lot of offensive linemen who are really good or really bad, and you don't know because they're just out there. You know what I mean? And they may be doing enough to not get noticed, but they should be doing a lot more. So I'm not saying Parker Brailsford didn't good or didn't deserve it. I'm saying I'm glad I don't have to rate centers, because it would be the only way I'd know to do is, did the ball get back to the quarterback? Okay. Did he get run over by the nose guard? Okay. If those things are not problems, I won't have a hard time rating it.
Well, center is a position where the most important thing in today's world, because offense is just so good, just my theory, teams are going to take a lot more chances with defenses now, because you're not going to, they're outside of Bama, Ohio State, Notre Dame, Texas, Oklahoma. There's a handful that can man up and play you straight up, but very, 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 very few. Everybody else is fire zone and taking a lot of chances. You got to know protections. We can't grade that. We don't know what the calls are. So center is really hard. And that's part of it. But
Parker Brailsford is a great leader. You can tell he is the leader of this offensive line group, and I appreciate him. And I don't want him to go pro. I'm hoping he doesn't, but I think he might. At least there's at least a chance he could go pro, because he's not going to get bigger. He's the size he is going to be, and so he might look at it like, hey, I might as well go ahead and get my rookie stuff out of the way, and then be working on a long NFL career. But of course, that's the positive to NIL stuff. He could come back, make a good, pretty penny here at Bama, and then go pro and do all that later as well. Regardless, if he were to leave, Jeremy Bernard's going to be a hard hit, because we depend on him so much right now. He's arguably our best receiver and running back. But Parker Brailsford may be the hardest guy to replace.
Centers, like, they don't get any rep. Like it's like you were just talking about.
Yeah.
But if you talk to coaches, I bet the answer would be different than the average fan, especially ones that have coached offense. I would almost
agree.
see it.
Yeah.
So last question for you. Bama's NIL is pretty darn good. Would you consider it to be like elite? I mean, Oregon, I think, will always be number one as long as Bill Knight's alive. I don't think anybody can compete with that. The guy's a billionaire.
Yeah.
But outside of that, is it where you think it needs to be, or do they need to, quote unquote, improve their NIL?
I'm very fortunate. I knew the guy who was pretty much in charge of Bama's NIL when all this unfolded initially. And what he always would tell me was, we're in really good shape. And especially when we need to be in really good shape, we're not the best. And that's understandable. It may be hard for some Alabama fans to swallow because they like being called the best. But it is, when you look at the college landscape, you go, yeah, we're not going to have as much money as Texas or Texas A&M or Oregon, like you said. Or, Michigan's got a billionaire guy who helps them get Bryce Underwood, apparently. And so, yeah, I don't want to go head to head with Michigan for the best quarterback in the country. If they really want him, I don't think we'll win that battle. But really, isn't that kind of where we were anyway? I mean, if there was no NIL, wouldn't it be tough to beat Michigan for that guy if you're Alabama anyway, if he's in Michigan? So, again, if Michigan wanted to come down here and fight us for the top player in Alabama, I think it'd be a tough pull. I'm not saying it can't be done. Obviously, Oregon has come in and gotten Tank Jones. And you're kidding yourself if you think NIL is no factor there. It certainly is. And I'm not mad at it. I'm like, okay, that's what you want to do. I understand it. I personally wish he would have made a different choice, but I think both sides have moved on from that. And I think he'll end up at Oregon. I think he'll have a good career. But Oregon is, they're a power player. Ohio State's a power player. But Alabama's also a power player. And I think the other thing we try to sell is our passion, is our love for the game, is the opportunity to have more brand awareness for your name. Look, Texas Tech's got all this money. They're sort of the talk of NIL world, it seems, right now. But you can go to Lubbock, Texas, and that's great. And I'm not here to poo-poo Lubbock, Texas, a place I've never been. But Game Day was there the other day. They had a game at 11 o'clock, and I'd be willing to bet a lot of people weren't talking about Lubbock, Texas, or BYU, Texas Tech. They were talking about Alabama, LSU later that night, or some other game at 2:30, because those are the teams and the games and the conferences that get seen the most. Big 12 is not going to be there. Now, if they have a billionaire that wants to dole out some money, hey, fantastic for them. But in the end, Texas Tech is a nice program. Texas and Texas A&M are different animals.
Yeah, that's a totally fair take. Luke, I appreciate it, man. We've covered a lot of ground here. I think it's still unfolding for Bama's season. I think their offseason will be very interesting to see if they make any adjustments to get rid of the run game problems for next year, et cetera. But if you would, man, just tell everybody where they can find your work.
Yeah, anywhere you get your podcast, YouTube, of course, we'd love to see you there. YouTube's always my favorite because that's where you get all the comments the easiest. And we get some very creative folks, both positive and negative, and I appreciate them.
Absolutely. You can find the Portal Podcast wherever you get your pods, just like Luke, Spotify, Apple, Podbean, and everywhere else. And, of course, on YouTube. This has been a crossover, Locked on Bama and Locked on the Portal.